college football is completely different now, and you can argue that the Big 12 helped ruin it. That's not good. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thanks for making this show your first listen every single day. That is Red Rankin from the Paddington Gone Wild podcast, a frequent guest of the Cam Show as well, who is always talking college football. Today we go through how college football is ruined. The Big 12 is kind of at the forefront of that on accident. Oops, sorry about that. Also, middle segment, Colorado is the best team in the Big 12, according to EA Sports. They got them right there with Utah. I got qualms with that. And then we'll finish off today. Red is a big West Virginia fan. So why does everybody hate West Virginia? They get the bone in the Big 12. Give them more respect. Red off the riff here. College football as we knew it. Like 2007 Oklahoma, Boise State. When I think college football, for at least my era, that's what I think. The heyday of upsets and crazy bowl games where the underdog wins. Today we have Rutgers playing against UCLA. Not good. We have ruined college football, and the Big 12 has certainly been a part of that.
Yeah, 100%. I think losing teams like Texas and Oklahoma is a huge part of that, letting these teams go. And I think there is something in the way that the Big 12 is also failing to schedule big time out of conference opponents.
Say it. Come on with the chest.
I think it's a huge issue. It's a huge issue. I mean, just looking right now, I'm going to read off just a couple of the
because you're a West Virginia fan, I'm going to save you a bit here. They have Penn State on the docket this season. Yes. But outside of that, like Oklahoma State has Arkansas, maybe the most ass SEC team there is this year. Continue with your point. I do want to give West Virginia some of their flowers, though.
It's true. And scheduling Penn State is a big deal. And it's going to be a really big game to kick off the season, to have the Nittany Lions come into Morgantown, I think is a big deal. But then it's like Kansas is going to host Illinois.
Yeah.
And Iowa State is going to play in El Asico, which is, they do it every year. And it's a game that I watch because I'm a college football freak and I enjoy pain, but is never a good game. Colorado will be playing Nebraska in Memorial Stadium, which they did last year and got a dub in. But what are either of those teams going to be this year? So even then, is it a big time game, or is it just going to be watching two lackluster teams play each other? Yeah,
I think in a game where the loser misses a bowl, tough to call that a marquee matchup. Right. But I think the loser of that game is not going to a bowl game.
Oh, certainly. I mean, this is the biggest game of like 1991.
True. I would have watched it.
But in 2024.
Were you? So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I just with the Big 12 and it's an expansion thing, too. You don't get the out of conference matchups as much. And you could argue the SEC, they always have that week 11 in November where it's, 8 teams are playing Georgia Southern or Jacksonville State or somebody. And when it comes to the Big 12 conference, the one thing that I'm kind of circle and think, oh, that's not good. No more Oklahoma State, but instead you get Utah and Cincinnati. This just isn't the college football that is college football to me.
I agree. It feels like they are kind of falling apart at the seams, especially in the Big 12, of what are these big marquee matchups, even if they are within the conference or outside of the conference. And the SEC and the Big 10 are already leaps and bounds ahead in terms of ultimately college football is a product, right? People want to make money off of this. And so the SEC already is like, all right, Georgia's going to play Clemson week 1. Like Texas is going to play Michigan. Like we are going to give you the games that you want to see, but they're doing that within this tiny little bubble of essentially, I mean, we've all been talking about and complaining that we went from a Power 5 into a Power 4, but in reality, it's like a Power 2 and 2/3. Like the ACC is nothing to write home about either.
Yeah. I don't like the ACC very much right now. I also, look, from the standpoint of somebody who is a big college football fan and wants college football to stay alive, I have 2 questions here, actually. The first being, what is the marquee matchup for the Big 12 this year? And my job, I'm the host of Locked On Big 12. I'm supposed to beef up the conference, but truly, let's ask that question. What is the game that anybody, a general college football fan, circles and says, I have to watch this?
For me, I don't know.
Yeah.
BYU? like it. I really can't think of a game that I'm like chomping at the bit to watch from the perspective of the Big 12.
Yeah.
I will watch just about every Utah game that I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
Because I think they're going to be a really exciting team. And I think in a 12-team playoff, they could be the only representative from the Big 12 and probably the only representative we will have for quite some time. So I really can't. I have nothing to really say. I mean, for you and I being two people who spend a lot of time and investment into Baylor athletics, watching play Baylor, that will be a marquee matchup, and watching a team that we care about get demolished.
True.
But to me, frankly, I think if you were going to write anything down as the games of which a lot of people are going to watch them in the conference, I think you have to circle November 9th and November 16th on the calendar, both of which are Utah games. They'll be hosting BYU, and then they'll travel to Boulder to play the Buffs. That, to me, those are the games that I think everybody will watch. But outside of that, it's going to be, and it's an interesting thing, right? As you expand the conference, we're going to see less and less, as all conferences are expanding, we're going to see less and less 15-0 teams.
Yeah.
We're going to see a lot more teams that are making it into the playoff at 10-2, 11-1. Every once in a while, you might see a 9-3 squeak in there. But because of that, there's supposedly going to be this parity in the conference. But really, I think it just means, especially in our conference, watching the Big 12, is that you're going to see one, maybe two teams at the top, and then a lot of people just fighting to get a bowl game.
Yeah. If parity is what marks the Big 12, and you have a damn good Kansas State team goes 8-4, that you were still good, but you missed the college football playoff. So what did you do for the conference long term? Like, what did you do for the conference to represent on the national scale? You didn't, in essence.
Yeah.
Coming up, talking about things that just didn't. EA Sports did not at all. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. I go to FanDuel all the time and say, FanDuel, take my money and please give it back. Because FanDuel is the place that I can go during the MLB season and put my dollars on the Texas Rangers to lose. As you know, I'm a very big Texas Rangers fan, and they win sometimes, but more often than not, they lose. So now, if you fade the Rangers, you can make money at FanDuel. I love sports. This is kind of like that weird, like playoffs are done for the NBA and NHL and college baseball off-season thing. So open the app, keep sports going, because FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Head to FanDuel.com/locked on and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports book of the MLB. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on today. Red Rankin for the Paddington Gone Wild podcast. EA comes out with its overall rankings across college football, and they are awful. Colorado featured in this list as one of the marquee teams, the second best team in the Big 12 behind Utah. Colorado. They have Utah as the 10th best team in the country, 88 overall. Colorado 16th, 87 overall. A couple of the Big 12 teams there kind of around the bottom of the top 25. Kansas 22, Arizona, who's a Big 12 team now, 23, Oklahoma State 24, no sign of Kansas State, and a bad list. No question, just generally wholly not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the place. You didn't even bring up what I think might be the most egregious thing about anything that EA has published so far, which is saying that Kyle Field is the most hostile home environment in college football.
Yeah.
Kyle Field.
When did we decide that, by the way? Like 5 years ago, there wasn't a okay, hold on, everybody. 5 years ago, wasn't a thing. And they haven't been good to make it a thing. It's not like they've been, like for Texas, if you said, hey, DKR's top 15 right now, well, they're good. So it's tough to argue against a good team. A&M just fired their coach. How is that number one?
Yeah, I mean, they also let App State walk into their stadium and beat them and upset them. I mean, App State, which obviously you and I are old enough to remember App State, Michigan, but they were not a good team. They got a couple of fun upsets early in the season, but you go back and look at the rest of that season, they were not good, which just proves that A&M fans love to say that A&M is a hard place to play.
Yeah.
But does anyone else actually care that much about playing in Kyle Field?
Not me. No.
Yeah, not me. As someone who's never played there, but
right. I don't think I'm ever going to play Kyle Field. I don't really dream to play Kyle Field though. And it begs the question, and this is a tough conversation. What is the best atmosphere in the Big 12? You could argue BYU is up there for sure. But again, for a team that's just wasn't very good last year, you got to take that into account and think, if you're the Big 12, do you try to argue for any of your stadiums? Because there aren't, like, Boone Pickens, Oklahoma State's good. And there are plenty that are solid, but none that are Penn State, right? Or LSU. And I'm fine admitting that. And none that are Penn State or LSU in the overalls, by the way. Can we, for 1 second, Colorado, why? What are we doing with this?
It's insane. So I have some stats pulled up. I wanted to provide receipts to show just how disappointing this team is. So according to the NCAA website, Colorado was 127th in FBS in overall defense.
That's not good, right?
That's not good. Out of 133 teams, Baylor was 110th.
That's better than Colorado.
17 spots higher. And you and I watched basically every defensive snap those boys took.
Sadly, very, very sadly. Yeah, not good.
Yeah. LSU, a team that you brought up earlier, LSU that most of us decried as one of the worst defenses we've seen from a program of that caliber in some time, was a full 22 spots higher. This team is a horrific defense, and yet they finished top 25. Kansas State, who had a decent enough defense last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a top 30 defense in terms of points per game allowed,
which is good. Yeah.
Which is quite good, especially in FBS and in a pretty good offense that they were running out there. They are 24th overall. And I understand the K-State has lost a couple of guys, but when you think about it, I mean, like, do we think Kobe Savage was such an important part to K-State's defense that him going to Oregon is going to drop them below what was considered a horrific defense last season?
No, they're not worse than Colorado.
No. It just, and even you brought up the offensive numbers as well. They're also a top 25 offense. They were 60th. 60th. And I understand they had some injuries, but and I understand. We talked about this in the first segment, that college football is ultimately a product. That you and I, as much as we want to be two old men who want to sit and watch college football without ads, that we can sit back and relax and just enjoy it as is it's a product and people need to make money off of it. But at what point are we lying to everyone in the world about what Colorado will be?
I think we've reached that point of and the lunacy of leaving a Kansas State out of the top 25. It's not as crazy as putting Colorado in your top 16. They're sitting at 16 right now, but it's still crazy. And I don't know if it's just disrespect to the Big 12 as much as it is. Look, if Colorado was left off the list entirely, okay, Utah was at 10, the Big 12 had a splattering of teams. You're just like, oh, okay, spattering of teams. You're like, oh, that's fine. But the fact that Colorado's at 16 in the country above Oklahoma or Wisconsin or USC shows me whoever put the game together was like, hey, let's just go to 247sports.com. You know, this kid was a 4-star. I get it. He hasn't been good in college, but he's a 4-star. We'll give him a 89 overall. We'll go on about our day. To me, for a game that I'm very excited to play, this is a whiff when it comes to labeling teams for how good, like A&M being 14th in the country. What? They sucked. They blew chunks and just fired their coach. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I like Mike Elko, but again, this is the thing of like, at a certain point, what's happening here? Yeah. Is it purely like, is it engagement bait? Is this like you getting on the Bird app and just saying something to see what people will fire up? Are we big?
Which happens a lot. It's
true. You and I both big fans of it. But how much are we going to continue to let this happen?
Yeah.
And I understand that a big part of what EA has put forth about this game is that there will be constant updates. Things will constantly be coming in and will fluctuate. And I'm assuming overall ratings will do the same thing. I'm assuming player ratings will do the same thing. But how disappointing is it going to be when Colorado in week 6 drops from an 89 overall as one of the 15, 20 best teams in the country to then all of a sudden they're 74?
Not a good look for EA. I can tell you that much.
Not a good look for EA at all.
Like, great for the ball knowers, terrible for the non-ball knowers at EA Sports who built this video game.
True.
I hope the game itself is better than the overall rankings they gave, where Virginia Tech is 20th in the country. When is the last time they did anything? Coming up, West Virginia gets the bone all the time on Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is where I go to buy tickets, last-second tickets. I saw Tyler Childers a couple weeks ago. I plan to see Tyler Childers with my friend Red Rankin in August. How am I going to do it if I don't have the tickets in hand right now? That's because I buy them last second with Game Time. Game Time is the place to go to buy your last-second tickets because it's last-minute prices, the best prices at the last minute. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball as well, which makes getting tickets faster and easier on time right now for you. Prices on Game Time go down the closer it gets to first pitch. So right now, on the Game Time app, go find yourself at an MLB game thanks to their last minute deal. Save up to 60% buying last minute for sports, again, concerts, comedy, theater. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. That's right. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. There are last minute tickets, lowest prices, and that is a guarantee. Red Rankin joining Locked On Big 12 today, a very passionate West Virginia fan. My qualm for the last now 12 years has been that West Virginia fans just can't go to road games. Like, oh, you driving down to the big game this weekend? Nope, because that drives 9 hours. Yeah. The Big 12 has not, in expansion, put West Virginia in a spot to be a Big 12 team. They still feel like the outlier because this we got West Virginia on the road on our schedule. We got to fly all the way out there. I wonder how it feels for the Mountaineers fans. Does it? From your perspective, does this program get the bone that, from my perspective, it feels like they do?
I would certainly agree. I think West Virginia is consistently boned by the Big 12. I mean, looking at the away games, I have them written down here: Oklahoma State, Arizona, Cincy, and Texas Tech. Now, Cincy, that's a 4.5 hour drive from Morgantown.
Yeah.
So that's decent enough, but they don't get like a UCF. They don't get to just drive down the coast and go there. I mean, traveling to Arizona is already like the thought of that. And we've seen it. I mean, I live in Waco. That's where we met. You lived in Waco for many years. We would see anytime the Mountaineers were going to come play in McLean, you would see Mountaineers fans show up.
Yeah.
They have a relatively large alumni base. They love their team. They're huge fans. I mean, you think about even just the lack of pro sports in the state, but it's insanity. It feels like, and granted, I understand that bringing them into a conference that was kind of an amalgamation of SWAC teams and teams from all over, and especially teams based in the Midwest and Texas and the Southwest, but they're not making an effort to make it easy for Penn State. Or I'm sorry, for Penn State. My apologies, for West Virginia. But thinking about like getting to host Penn State, this is a good team. I mean, they were a talented team last year. This is a team that in my lifetime we watched, outside of a horrible backyard brawl. They were on the verge of being able to vie for a national championship. And yet we're stuck here and getting crapped on by ADs in the conference.
Yeah.
Ray Anderson joins the conference and days later says, I'm not going to Morgantown. You can send the assistant AD there.
That's not good.
It's not good. It's a terrible look. It's not even just the disrespect. It's just truly like, it feels very tone deaf. It feels like a very odd thing to say the moment after you're picked up by a conference after what you were going to be just left in the cold. And you're like, I don't want to go play in an incredible college football environment of which people talk. I mean, we talk about scary places to play. it should be that Morgantown at a night game should be like a top 10 always. Morgantown at night is a wild, wild place, and anybody can lose a night game in Morgantown.
I'll give the people who are the dissenters of West Virginia I'll give some grace. Until you understand the culture there, I get it. There was a point in time where West Virginia felt like Boise State, Louisville, that 2010 year where you're like, oh, the team's really good, but are they? Even Clemson was there, where it's nobody really thinks about this school, but they're good, and we give them their roses because they're good right now. But how much staying power do they have in college football? To me, what we overlook so often, West Virginia is truly a hard job. It is a hard. If you were just going to take in-state players, I think 24/7 had 9 players ranked, and only like 5 of them had any were 3 stars or better. You can't build a football program off of that. Yeah. To me, the most impressive part of West Virginia, they are doing it with kids who didn't grow up West Virginia fans. They have to go out and recruit across the country, and they're like Neil Brown against literally all odds is winning football games.
Yeah. I mean, these are guys who they're having to travel into Ohio and Kentucky and going all over Appalachia just to recruit kids, asking them to come play. I mean, there's a disgraced West Virginia basketball coach who's now no longer with the program, but thinking about it is a hard job no matter what it is. I brought up earlier the 2007 season and Rich Rodriguez leaving behind the program to go to Michigan. But when you and I think I'm far enough removed now. Now, if you ask my father, he would probably still have many, many, many harsh words that I probably shouldn't repeat on this show about Rich Rodriguez and about the way that he left the program. But if you have the chance to go to what is ostensibly a much easier job, now I understand Rich Rod had a not so fun time at Michigan.
Very true.
Why would you not take that? 1,000 times out of 1,000, you're going to go get paid more. You're going to be able to recruit with the knowledge of you have Big Blue backing you. You can show up and recruit anywhere in the country. Whereas, you think about the great athletes from the state of West Virginia, neither of whom played at the university. You think about guys like Jason Williams and Randy Moss, neither of whom were Mountaineers. So you're already at a disadvantage, but they're doing it and they're showing up. And, we all have watched the Tavon Austin highlight tape 12,000 times.
Yeah. Dudes rock.
Dudes rock.
Yeah.
Dudes rock. And and West Virginia rocks. It's an incredible place. One of the most beautiful places in the country. It's a great place to go. The fans are excellent. I mean, I've heard some folks have some bad experiences with West Virginia fans, but being somebody who lives in Bear Country and who, shows up to every time the Mountaineers are going to come play in Waco, getting to meet West Virginia fans who have traveled that far, and then talking to my friends whose parents get to interact with West Virginia fans for the first time, and they're like, these people are all so lovely. They're so excited. They just want to talk about where's the best place to eat. What can we go do afterward? What do you guys recommend? They want to enjoy their time because they've traveled a long freaking way to be here because they care that much about the program.
What do you think separates, and we'll close with this. What do you think separates West Virginia fans from other Big 12? What is something that West Virginia fans get about being in the Big 12 that other fan bases will never have a piece of?
I think it really is the love of the program. I think it is the understanding that this is our lifeblood. This is what we care about so deeply. A quick anecdote. My father and my brother came in 2021 to watch the Mountaineers play in Waco. My brother attended the University of Georgia. My dad is the one who raised us both diehard West Virginia fans. And my brother was was kind of baffled at the way that the Baylor crowd reacted. And I don't want to piss off any Baylor fans, but frankly, there was not this investment. Yeah. And there was not this lifeblood, and it didn't feel like nearly as many of these people who were in the stands bled green and gold the way that West Virginia fans bleed. The way West Virginia fans live, eat, sleep, and breathe West Virginia football. And frankly, every West Virginia sport, they're invested across the board. West Virginia women's soccer, people are invested in. West Virginia women's basketball, people are invested in. They love these programs.
And that makes me happy. I feel sad because it's like, oh, they're up there, and nobody thinks about them. And even when they win, nobody really thinks about West Virginia. And it feels like they have gotten at least a bit of a shaft from the Big 12, especially the way expansion has gone with solely going out west and just leaving West Virginia idle by itself over there. They're like, you can't drive to an away game. We're not changing that. Sorry. Yeah. Hopefully the ACC's fall apart changes that. Red Rankin, if folks want to find more of your stuff, where do they go?
You can find me at Paddington Gone Wild, which is a movie podcast that me and my friends run. You can also find me on the Bird app at Red Rankin, of which I will probably be tweeting about West Virginia athletics. We'll be tweeting about country music and Atlanta Braves baseball.
Yep. I hear that he's dropping his top 15 Turnpike Troubadour songs very soon. Red, thanks for running the show today.
That's true. Thanks for having me.
That's Red Rankin. I'm Drake Toll. This has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.